So the show's producers said to Jim Morrison, "No, can you just change the lyric to that?" So Jim Morrison says, "Yeah, okay, no problem." Anyway, it comes to the live performance for the show. Of course, he stays with the original lyric. Never got invited back, I don't think. But that really set the scene. But he's one of these guys that, I mean, he really has been a sort of up and down kind of character. The first album, say, was 67, beginning of the year. In December, famously arrested at New Haven in Connecticut. What apparently happened was a cop saw Jim Morrison with a sort of female companion backstage and confronted Morrison, who became a bit aggressive and sprayed him with mace. So Jim Morrison, obviously not a happy man when he takes to the stage. So halfway through the performance, he actually stops and with lots of naughty words in the version, he tells the audience what bad people the local police are. And they dragged him off stage, the police. On they came and scruff of the neck, off he went. So the concert was stopped mid-flow and a riot ensued that apparently spread out onto the streets of New Haven. It's referred to in the song Peace Frog, and the local sheriff's office charged him with indecent exhibition and resisting arrest.
Indecent exhibition. That's awesome.
Roll on a couple of years or so, 1969 March. This is really the beginning of the end for Jim Morrison. He was arrested at a concert in Miami, and there he was charged with lewd and lascivious behaviour. That's a charge to conjure with. Profanity, drunkenness, indecent exposure. And he actually got sentenced to 6 months in prison and a $500 fine, which he then appealed, and his people got him straight out of jail. But he was still awaiting on the appeal when he died on the 3rd of July, 71. And that was very much the end of the Doors, really. Apparently, after that particular incident, a lot of concert promoters wouldn't promote the Doors. A lot of radio stations wouldn't play their music. He never seemed to learn his lesson, as it were. In November 69, he was arrested in Phoenix after a flight from Los Angeles. When he was flying back, he was flying on his way to a Stones concert, and he was arrested for being drunk and obnoxious.
He probably just didn't care that more than he didn't learn a lesson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the attitude at the Ed Sullivan Show, because only a few weeks earlier, the Rolling Stones had been on, and they'd had the same problem because their current single they were promoting was "Let's Spend the Night Together," and in the rehearsal they went through the song, and the producers, "Oh dear me, we can't be talking about this. Can you change the lyric to 'Let's Spend Some Time Together'?" And Mick Jagger did. So when they came to the live performance, he sang the "Let's Spend Some Time Together" version, whereas Jim Morrison, he just went on and sang the words to the song. And if you think about Mick Jagger and Jim Morrison, they're very, very different kind of frontmen.
Jim Morrison was a little more rowdy, and Mick Jagger, he was even though he was all over the stage, he represented the band well.
Yeah,
he left the antics up to Keith Richards, actually.
There's a guy who falls out of coconut trees when he's past 70.
At 60-something years old. Why not? Right?
Absolutely incredible.
So next,
the actual end for the Doors came in November 70. They were playing the Warehouse in New Orleans, and halfway through the performance, Jim had a bit of a meltdown, and apparently he smashed a hole through the stage with his mic stand. Concert was stopped, and the group decided to, draw a line under the live performances, and that was basically it. So he went off. Jim Morrison and his girlfriend went off to Paris, where he died in the July of 71.
And that was right after an album came out, I believe, right? Or it was coming out soon after?
Yeah, well, there were a couple of albums after Jim Morrison died. I think the first one was called Other Voices, where the keyboard player took over the lead vocals. So they did try to carry on. They did come to the UK to try and recruit a new singer to replace Jim Morrison, but they decided against that. I mean, that's the sort of... Well, it comes back to the conversation earlier about AC/DC and Axl Rose. You know, would you really want to see the Doors with a lead singer that wasn't Jim Morrison?
No, I think they tried it with Ian Ashbury for a while, but I just, you know, it was more of a novelty than it was actually seeing the Doors.
Smoke them if you got them, because the John Lebang Show will be right back after this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's a hell of a good time, isn't it? Our next matchup, speaking of the boys in AC/DC, they went up against Prince and did rather well.
They did very well against Prince. So this was the end of the line for Prince. But, I mean, he's an interesting guy. Very much came to the fore in the 80s. I mean, he had his first hit at the end of 1979. But again, it's on a slow burn because he signed to Warner's in 76. But then, you know, 84 Purple Rain, 13 million copies in the US alone. So, I mean, he's been phenomenally successful. But then in the 90s, in 93, he had this feud with Warner Brothers, as artists and record labels do. And that's when he decided to become the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah, the little symbol thing.
When he did some performances, because he was tied to them, so there was quite a bit that he was forced into doing. And he actually wrote the word slave on his cheek when he went on his face when he went out to perform.
He had a remarkable career, and he went through some pretty... I mean, he beat Elvis, he beat David Bowie, and David Lee Roth.
Yeah, he actually went further in the competition. I wouldn't have thought he'd have got that far, but he did extraordinarily well.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go down against Elvis, but apparently remembered fondly by a lot of people.
Oh, I think he's got a very, very big fan base. And I think he's one of these artists that attracts a very loyal fan base.
And the dude played 21 instruments.
Wow. I did not know that.
21 instruments. I mean, that's a front man.
Yeah. No, it's well deserved, I think, his place in our poll.
Derek, the big ending.
Wow, the final. Freddie Mercury and the AC/DC boys. What a good final that is.
And I thought it was going to be a tie. This is how close it was. This is the first one where Freddie Mercury had to work for the victory. Absolutely.
The others were 80s and 90s%. I mean, here for a long time, AC/DC were ahead, and then it was tied for a long time. So it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, it's a testament to how great both of these artists are. I believe, and I mentioned this in a private conversation, that I think the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, I think that's the name of the movie.
That's right.
That gave Freddie a little advantage because it reminded people how great he was.
Yeah, that's current, exactly. So he's very much in the front of people's minds. But I think AC/DC have done extraordinarily well. I mean, they beat Hendrix in the first round, David Coverdale and Ronnie James Dio.
Right, and I think it was the Hendrix one that set him on the course because if Hendrix wins that one, I think a whole lot changes along the way.
Yeah, I think it would have been quite a different set of results.
But AC/DC's been around since the early 70s. They have two iconic singers. Back in Black sold so many albums that it staggers the imagination that a bunch of ugly guys from Australia, their gimmick is a guy running around in a little schoolboy outfit, that they could sell so many albums and have so many hit songs.
Well, I mean, what a band. As you say, started out in Australia. early 70s, 73.
They lost their lead singer in 1980, right after their biggest album, Highway to Hell. They come back with Back in Black. Wasn't Back in Black one of the top 12 or 13 albums of all time in our top 100? It was something like that.
It was. And what I love about that is it's got the track Have a Drink on Me.
Yeah, they've had a great career. They've had a few ups and downs, but they're one of those bands that have always remained relevant.
And they are one of these awesome bands to see live. I remember seeing them in London, and when they did the Those About to Rock with the cannons, they were just up halfway up the stage. Absolutely incredible.
With that being said, let's give some kudos to the man who won, Freddie Mercury.
Absolutely. Whoa! Yes, a well-deserved win, I think. It was just such a good final battle there.
My biggest surprise was that Robert Plant didn't make the Final Four. I would have bet money that he would have made the Final Four. He didn't make it out of the first round. What was your big surprises?
Well, I think the closeness of that particular competition, the final itself, and how well Elvis did,
yes.
Which I thought was well deserved. And I think Robert Plant, a little bit surprised that he didn't do so well, and Jimi Hendrix, of course. I think the biggest surprise in terms of somebody who lost was probably Bruce Springsteen, losing by such a big margin to Elvis.
I think Elvis's advantage was he's just such a big name that it was hard to overcome the name in itself, the branding, basically. Yeah. He took on the Beatles and beat them fairly handily.
And I think Steve Marriott beating Lou Reed was a bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah, which allowed him to go up against Freddie, which Freddie was the man of destiny. He won with the highest percentage in almost every round except for that last round, and he still pulled it out.
I mean, that was really consistent.
So we got one more thing of business here before we move on, Derek, and that's picking the prize winner.
Love prizes. It's not me, is it?
You want to be somebody's prize?
No. I like winning prizes.
Derek, you're going to pick a matchup that we've had, and then I'm going to go to that matchup, and then we're going to pick a number, and you're going to pick the winner.
I think for me, the most memorable matchup of the lot was the Bruce Springsteen Elvis one.
A number from 1 to 19. Pick it.
17.
17. Christian N. Martin, you just won a prize package from Rock'n'Roll Unravelled and the John Lebang Show. We will be contacting you after the show to get your contact information, and we'll figure out how to get that to you. If we don't hear back from you, Derek, we're going to pick a secondary winner just in case we don't hear from them back. So,
fine.
You almost won, Derek. That would be Michelle Pratt, and you will receive a prize package from John Lebang Show and Rock'n'Roll Unravelled. Derek, we got to get on out of here, but before we do, give us your social media, please, sir.
Right. Well, the website to check it all out is www.rock'n'rollunravelled.com. But the social media very much is the Twitter at RNR Unravelled and Facebook at Rock and Roll Unravelled. You can see a theme developing there.
Definitely. This was a good time, Derek. I really had a lot of fun with the whole process. We've been what's it been, about 2.5 weeks setting this whole thing up?
That's right.
It's been a good time for me. I think we're going to do more of this kind of thing beginning next year. This is the last time we'll talk for 2018, so I wanted to thank you for all the support you've given me, all the hard work you've put into the show. You are truly, truly a champion, my friend.
Oh, it's my pleasure, John. I really enjoy it. I'm putting together a lot of the background here.
Well, thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year, Derek.
And to you.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
1. We have liftoff.